who will bring life, whether it's films or anything under the sun. If there is no music, if there is no fashion, if there is no art, there is no brand. Good evening, and thank you very much, first of all, for inviting to grace this occasion. It's a great honor. Thank you very much. Distinguished invitees, the head of lecturers, and dear graduates. So, while thanking you and feeling, a privilege to be here, I see a bunch of students who feels utmost happy after, cramming for years and years, and finally, oh my God, I got my degree. It's a beautiful feeling. At the same time, inside your hearts, you must be thinking, okay, now we need to face life. Now it's our turn. Trust me, once you get out there, if you listen to your heart, it's going to be a beautiful ride. There'll be difficult times, there'll be challenges in your life, there'll be moments where you wonder, am I doing the correct thing? Is my decision right? There'll be many difficult times in your life. During those times, take a step back. Listen to your heart. Talk to yourself. That will help you to get through. Both of us, almost 23 years ago, shifted our careers from banking, finance, economics to marketing. Doing business degrees, we shifted to doing what we loved, which is music. So times were not tough. It was quite tough because our parents, even though they were supportive, they were quite reluctant. They were scared because we were treading on grounds where no one has treaded before, and especially within our families. My dad was a director of marketing. Bharti's father was in the army, so it was not a familiar terrain. And of course, both our parents, they like to see us as doctors, lawyers, engineers, marketeers, finance, all these things. But this was difficult. So, with the love of the music, we got into this field. After we got into this field, we realized it is definitely not a bed of roses. We had hits, Vasante, and so many songs. The album Life was a big hit, and it was very popular. But the back end was not so rosy, because the entertainment industry was not structured at that time to give you revenue, right? So when we were 21, 22 years old, at that age, a certain amount of life has passed by. We can't change our careers, right? Even though now we think, 21, 22 is very young, at that time you feel very old, trust me. And I'm sure you guys must be feeling, oh my God, we finished our, now we are pretty adults. No, right? So, it is during these times, right? It is during these utmost difficult times that you bring in light to your life. You bring in light to your career. It is during those times you suddenly see Eureka. So I'm going to share this Eureka moment, right? And head on to the speech. So we were during this difficult time where we didn't know whether to shift our careers. Yes, we loved our music, but the industry was utmost unstructured. There was no revenue at all. Radios wouldn't pay, shows were handled by media, they wouldn't be paying. All our CDs were pirated. If you go to PETA, there were 30,000 CDs pirated. So there was infringement of copyrights. People were downloading music, and it was a case whereas, again to go to the recording studio, I was to ask my mother and say, Amma rupiya siyatti no. Then it came to point, son, what is wrong? You're supposed to be very popular, but you're asking for 100 rupees. So it was quite a bad time, right? So now this gets to you. Now you're 21, 22, you can't join Air Force, you can't join Unilevers, you can't join any other company. Are you going to change careers? This is going in your mind. So there was one day, I was petrified. I didn't know what to do. It was a point whereas that night I was thinking, it was a sleepless night. I was wondering whether even to shift my careers. Are we going to work and then do this as a job? Because that was the time, at that time, most of the professional musicians, most of the profound musicians you hear, they wouldn't be doing this full time. They will be doing a government job and sing as a profession. Or they would sing at weddings full time and then do this as a profession. Or they would teach music and do this as a profession. But we didn't want that. We wanted to be these big stars who did music full time. So that dream was not coming true because that was not the case in Sri Lanka. So now with all these thoughts going by, you're having a sleepless night and suddenly you realize, am I in the correct industry? Should we change? So then I was thinking about the industries. What are the industries 20 years ago? Banking, telecommunication, then FMCG, media, right? All these industries. Now at that time, during the late 2000s, all these industries compared to 20 years ago, compared to the 1980s of Sri Lanka and the 2000s, all these industries have, just imagine like there is a tube, right? And we have all these industries here, and this in 2000. All these industries had transformed in comparison with the rest of the world. What I mean is, if you ask your parents, during the 70s, 80s, if you want a telephone line, we had to wait for 4 years just to get a telephone connection. Right? If you go to a bank, you'll be in queues. You'll have to stay for days to open an account. Right? There was only one radio station for the entire country, that is SLBC. So most of these industries were on this side. But within those 20 years, Sri Lanka had, mobile companies. At that time, there were, whether it is banking or media, we had TV stations. We had moved on. Yes, we had ATMs. You go to the world, it is, our banking industry was in par with the world. The media industry was par with the world. Our radios were in par with the world. Our FMCGs, the way we marketed, our advertising industry, everything was in par with the world. Now, what do? We are in the music industry. Now, where is music industry? Back in 2000, it was on this side of the tube. Right? So now you're thinking, so that is the reason why we want to shift here, do something very structured, do something secure. Now it just got to me thinking. Now, all these are commodities created by people, right? Or natural resources, whatever, right? You take a beverage, yes, when you drink it, you feel good. It brings you enjoyment, it creates you life, everything. But it is just a beverage. There was a soap marketed by one of the biggest multinational companies. When I tell you the name, you will see yellow color, very national pride, everything, purity, everything. See, I can see the smiles. See, they know the brand. There were banks who came and said, we are a bank with a heart. There was a different selling proposition with all these brands. They were not commodities. There's something much more than that. So who gave that? Who gave those brands that life? Two industries, the music industry and the fashion and art industry. But ladies and gentlemen, still those two industries, trust me, it is still at this side of the tube. That is the reason why Sri Lanka still exports tea as a commodity. That is why we don't export our intellect to the world. While UK is exporting Harry Potter, we are still stuck with Gamperelia. We have not recognized the new age literature. The intellect is still. I'm not undermining the intellect, but unfortunately, the industries of music, fashion, and art, all of us, we are still here. Music, art, fashion creates life for all the brands you see. Engineers will create, right? Chemical, say people to do with chemistry to all these brands, they will create stuff. But who will bring life? Who will make people අපි අර කියන්නේ ලෙන්ගතුකම ඇති කරනවා කියලා. Right? Whether it's films or anything under the sun, even to market a country. If there is no music, if there is no fashion, if there is no art, there is no brand. This is where China is going today. They're investing heavily in arts, music, fashion. Because they know they have got the manufacturing right. But they want to create the biggest brands in the world in the future. If you look at that country, they have invested in operatic music to fashion to art in a big way. So being a small country with 22 million people, with so much of intellect, all these years, there's something, with all this intellect, you have so much opportunity and potential. But if you take our country, something gone wrong since 1945. You have to correct it. You have the opportunity. You have the power. You've chosen the right field to correct it. But what's the mindset you need to have? That's the important thing. What you possess today is knowledge. Knowledge won't get you there. You need to understand why I will be working for that company. Right? For example, if you join a company, you need to understand why this brand wants me to do this. You need to understand where this place has gone wrong. We've been importing, putting a brand into it, designing, then, consuming within us. We have not understood the value of this land. We have not understood the art, the fashion, the sound of this land. We have not been able to internationalize it, globalize it, and re-export. We have not started manufacturing. The creative people haven't inspired enough the manufacturers to manufacture, brand it, and send it out of the country. So this is the mindset you need to have. You've got a big goal out there. Because Sri Lanka needs you very, very badly. It's very easy to fly out of this country and work for a foreign organization or another country. But creative people like you, yes, they're going to need you very, very badly. You have to inspire the future generation. Yes, let's create new brands. Just like Shalin, very proud of you. creating our own Sri Lankan brand, taking our heritage, creating the biggest luxury Ayurvedic product, taking Sri Lanka to the world. We've been exporting tea, we've been exporting rubber, we've been exporting cinnamon, just as commodities. Do we have big brands where we have added say a different selling proposition, added more value to it, and exported to the world? No. Who will give life to that? It's you. So the future waits for you. So in your life, integrity, thinking out of the box, being different, and having the courage to be different, to believe in yourself, and getting the essence of this land. Because that is going to be your competitive advantage. You'd never be better than an Australian with regard to the Australian arts, the Australian culture. Because they have it in their blood. You'll never be better compared to a UK citizen. It's in their blood. That's their competitive advantage. That's how they create a better, unique selling proposition in the world. What do we have? We have something which has not been exposed to the entire world. If I take music, you've heard Bhangra, you've heard rap, you've heard hip hop, you've heard jazz, to everything. You always, obviously, you all know, you always need something new to create something big in the world. So if music gives life, all these sounds the entire world has heard. Just a few left in the world. One country, Sri Lanka. Hardly any people have heard this music. We are having a time, in both Bharti and I, we have a time trying to take music out of Sri Lanka because intellectual property, there'll be a lot of obstacles, but we have come a long way. But there is a lot to be done. That's you. So, even with regard to fashion and art, right? That, what you embrace from this land, that's your unique selling proposition. That will give you the competitive advantage to compete in the world. So embrace everything. Feel proud. Be a global citizen. I'd like to wish you all the very best and make the best for this country. Wish you all the very best. Thank you.